Hello to welcome to the Businesstalk podcast. I'm Deepak joining you from India and excited to host today's episode. Today we are joined by Dr. Maria Ballesteros-Sola to explore her research, The Hybrid Organization Advantage, Lessons from Social Enterprises and B Corps. In this conversation, she dwells into how hybrid organizations and certified B Corp successfully balance profit and purpose, unpacking the strategies and structures that empower them to drive both financial performance and meaningful social impact. Dr. Maria is an associate professor of management at the MBA School of Business and Economics and director of the Entrepreneurship and Small Business Institute. A Fulbright scholar and Paul R. Lawrence Fellow, she holds a DBA from IE Business School, Spain, an MBA from Boston University, and LLB from Comillas Pontifical University. Her research focuses on hybrid organizations, B Corps, and social entrepreneurship, with publications across leading journals and case collections. As a co-founder of B Academics and an active leader within North American Case Research Association and United States Association for Small Business and Entrepreneurship, she bridges academia and practice with a passion for social impact, experiential learning, and global engagement. Dr. Maria has published widely in leading journals, including the Journal of Social Entrepreneurship, Entrepreneurship Education and Pedagogy, and the Case Research Journal. Deeply involved in the case research community, she serves on multiple editorial boards, co-edits the SAGE Social Impact Case Collection, and chairs the Social Impact Track for North American Case Research Association. Her award-winning cases have been recognized at both the associations, and she is a member of the Academy of Management as well as the Case Center's Board of Trustees. Outside academia, she enjoys reading, traveling, Latin dancing, and tacos. Let's not keep you waiting. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Maria Ballesteros-Sola to the conversation. Dr. Maria, we deeply appreciate your gracious acceptance of our invitation. It's an honor and privilege to host you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me and creating this great space for joining reflection and sharing.
Thank you, Professor. Professor, what first sparked your interest in studying hybrid organizations?
Well, first of all, I want to say academia is my second career, right? I only started teaching in 2007, mostly marketing and management courses. But before I joined academia, I actually have a career in financial service and management consulting. Deepak, very similar to you. So for many years, and I work in Spain and London and Boston. So for many years, I experienced this divide. Like I was wearing two hats between my professional life, where of course the main goal was to maximize the shareholder profit of my clients or the banks I was working for. And then in the evening, what I will do, I will volunteer with nonprofits, right? So I was wearing these two hats, the for-profit Maria during the day and the for-profit Maria at night. And those two worlds, they never overlap. So what happened? I moved to California in 2007. I had this opportunity to figure out what I wanted to do in California, and I started teaching, as I said, in 2007, marketing and management courses. But in 2010, my university, Cal State Channel Island, launched our first social business minor. And we had the opportunity to welcome to campus Professor Muhammad Yunus. And I'm sure your listeners are familiar with Professor Yunus. He's Nobel Peace Prize 2006 and founder of Grameen Bank. And we have a few meetings over a couple of days, and he explained in very, very simple terms that business can be a force for good. And he shared examples, of course, Grameen Bank, Grameen Shatki, Grameen Danone, and it was almost like a revelation. So for the first time, those two hats, the Maria doing business and trying to maximize profit, and the Maria creating social good and helping the community, they got together. So I was like, what? There is something called social business and we are offering a class. So I went to my dean immediately, Dr. Cordeiro, and I say, please, I want to teach that course. So it was in 2010 that I started to first teach the courses, and then I started to try to understand what the concept meant and where were some application of that Yunus conceptual model in the US context. And that's what I stumbled across this idea of hybrid organization. And I'm sure we will talk, right? This idea of a continuum or a spectrum of organizational forms. But since then, 2010, so it's been almost 16 years trying to understand hybrid organizations.
Professor, in your research, how do you define a hybrid organization? And what makes them distinct from traditional businesses or non-profits?
Um, I already introduced this idea of a spectrum, right? So I followed this definition, and I did, in fact, my thesis on hybrid organizations. But Tilana and Lee, they have a fantastic paper, 2014, and they describe hybrid as organizations that combine aspects of multiple organizational form, and they blend together logic that has been previously seen as incompatible. So I would like just to take a second, and I wish we have a visual image, but if you think of a spectrum where you have on the left side traditional nonprofit, right? In the US, we call those are 501c3s, where the primary purpose is to create social value. And then on the other side, on the right side, you have the traditional for-profit maximization business, where the primary purpose, by definition, is to generate money, right? To maximize profit for the shareholder. So between those two extremes, what we're going to see is a different organizational models. So if I'm on the nonprofit side, if I start seeing that nonprofit might use what I call market-based solutions, those are nonprofits that are generating income through, again, social enterprises. They are offering a product or a service for a price. And then on the for-profit side, we're starting to get toward the continuum, and we see it, of course, the idea of corporate social responsibility, social responsible business such as B Corp, and the Yunus social business model in the center. So in this hybrid, again, idea is we have primary purpose, the creation of social value, and then the source of revenue change for just pure grant or donations to this market-based solution. So I tend to say at the end of the day, a hybrid organization is using the power of the market to create a social value.
Dr.
If that
Maria,
makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
yeah. Dr. Maria, tell us now about the unique dynamics of B Corps. How did you first learn about this certification?
Yeah, I'm glad you are bringing the B Corp too, and this is obviously open to discussion, right? If B Corps could be considered example of hybrid organizations. But the first time I heard about B Corp, I think it was 2012, 2013, that there was an event in Patagonia. Patagonia is the poster child of the B Corp movement, and they just happen to have the headquarters in Ventura. It's a city very close to my university here in Southern California. And then I met with, I mean, not only the Patagonia folks that were discussing the B Corp certification, but then other smaller business such as the refill shop. And eventually I wrote a case about them. But for me, discovering this certification was finally to put it boundaries to the hybrid model, because either you are B Corp certified or you are not. So for me, B Corps not only can be considered hybrid organization, but then again, it puts boundaries to that fuzzy concept of social business. It was later, I think 2016, I get a fellowship to go to Toronto to the B Corp champion retreat and the B academic roundtable and got really involved in the leadership and helped funded the nonprofit behind Be Academic. So again, we say that B Corp, what they have done, they have surfaced a material objective distinction to recognize that type of nonprofit, as I was describing the spectrum. There are nonprofit, but they are embodying this triple bottom line perspective. So yes, they're making money, they need to pay the bills, but they also have a higher purpose, and they want to create social change and environmental best practice.
Professor, how do certified B Corps balance the often competing demands of profitability and social purpose in real-world operations?
Um, so again, this is a challenge for them because as I talk about this blended logic, right? So there is a commercial logic, and they of course have to make money. They have to pay the bills, but at the same time, through that social logic, they are trying to create that social value, right? And they are following, in the case of B Corp, the organizational form is a clear legal structure on the for-profit side. So what I'm trying to do in one of my papers is to understand if at the funding moment there was this tension that I explained between the two different logic was not such a thing, and they were born what I'm calling a hybrid logic, born hybrid. It's almost as I think as academics, we like to see this duality, and it's either black or white. And what I'm trying to prove through this is a case study, multi-case study paper, is that they were born with a hybrid logic. And the B Corp certification that they obtained was all just a validation that there was a different way to do business. I think I have written by now 6 different B Corp cases in the last 6 or 7 years, and I have also written cases on the nonprofit side of, again, 501c3 that are using earned income strategies. And it's something about the idea that there are founders, no matter if it's for profit or non-profit, that from the moment of inception, again, I'm talking about, in this case, 2 B Corp that were founded in 95 and 2010, and they did thought from the beginning that things could be done different in the business context. So they were born with this born hybrid logic that I'm trying to demonstrate, that it could be, again, a non-binary logic.
Professor, could you share some examples or case studies from your research that illustrate the hybrid advantage in action?
Yes, as I said, by now I'm writing my case number 6. I wrote the case called Coding Autism. This was a small company started by an entrepreneur that himself, he had autism, and he realized that by teaching coding skills to people in the spectrum, they could access to better paid jobs. So this specific case was about the decision to become B Corp certified. I have another one on laureate education available through the Harvard and the Case Center. And this is the reflection about becoming also a B Corp, but in a very different context, right? Because this was an organization that was ready to go public. They were about to get IPO, so the decision to become a B Corp needed to be taken before. I already mentioned the refill shop. This is a local Ventura, a small business. And for them, the challenge was about scaling. So again, B Corp certified, trying to spread the word about their mission. And I'm writing now a case about an organization. Is actually a bank, Beneficial State Bank. Their headquarters here in California, in Oakland. And for me, the way they are developing, and hopefully we talk a little bit more later, their mission as a North Star for a lot of strategic decisions that they are making. So from the beginning, this is another clear case. The founders decided that they wanted to create a different type of bank.
Professor, what organizational structures, governance models, or leadership practices seem to most effectively support this balance between purpose and profit?
Well, there is a lot to unpack in that question. So let's start with the structure and governance model. I think, I don't know if you mentioned it, but I'm a lawyer by training. But over the years, I came to believe that form follows function. And this is actually a principle taken from architecture. But what I try to mean with this is that an entrepreneur should not define the legal structure before having a clear understanding of critical questions, right? What is my funding model? What are my ultimate goals? So you cannot decide if you, as a hybrid, want to be for profit, non-profit, if you don't answer a lot of questions before. So I want to share a couple of great examples, organizations that I admire that for me, they have the ideal hybrid governance and structure model. I already mentioned Patagonia, and I don't know if your audience is familiar again with this organization. They are based here in my county, in Ventura, and they are, as I say, the poster child of the B Corp movement. And not only they are a B Corp certified, but they are also a benefit corporation since 2012. So around 2022, the founder came out with this beautiful letter that I invite everyone to check online, and he reflects about exactly your question. And he claims that one option, of course, was to just sell Patagonia and then donate all the money to an environmental cause. He said that the other option they have to scale was to just go public. But as we know, the market could be hard, right? And that short-term perspective of profit maximization could have also compromised their mission. So, and say, at the end of the day, there was not an ideal governance structure. So we decided to create our own. So I love how he put it, because he say, instead of going public, you could say that we are going purpose. So what they did, they create this blended model, and they create something called Patagonia Purpose Trust. And this trust have 100% of the voting stocks just to protect the company value. And then they decided that the non-voted stocks and the economical rights, so all the money that Patagonia was going to generate, was going to be given to a collective, the Hofstand Collective. And this is a nonprofit that is driven by, again, trying to fix or to minimize the environmental crisis and defend nature. So every year, the money that Patagonia makes is going to go 100% into this collective. And again, Chouinard, the founder, say that Earth is our only shareholder. So I will invite your listeners to check this governance structure. And then the second one, and I already mentioned this bank, Beneficial Stake Bank, they're also a B Corp. Again, fantastic example. They were founded in 2007 by Kat Taylor and Tom Stayers. And from the beginning, they create two entities. Talk about hybridity, right? They create the Beneficial Estate Bank Corp, and they create the Beneficial Estate Foundation. So what they did is the same model. The Bank Corp run business, and they are, of course, a bank, and they are a B Corp certified and also a benefit corporation. But all the economical rights of the bank belong to the foundation. So this is a model where a foundation is owning a bank. And that way they can, be sure that the mission of the bank is this higher mission. And they're actually doing a lot of advocacy to change the perspective about how banks could be run. And since I'm talking about these hybrid structures, I also want to mention Homeboy's industry as an example on the other side of the spectrum. This is a 501c3, a nonprofit based in Los Angeles, but they run up to 12 social enterprises. And one of them is also a B Corp. So again, we have this duality of legal structures where a nonprofit is the owner of a for-profit. Therefore, all the revenues and all the dividends that come from the for-profit are going to be not to some private shareholders or investors or VCs, but they are going to be into the foundation of a nonprofit. So maybe it's because I'm a lawyer, I'm always very intrigued, and I'm glad that now we have some solid examples of these hybrid models where we have two legal structures, and through the role of either a foundation or the role of a 501c3, they have been able to keep the money and the revenues just serving the higher purpose that either the bank or in this case, Homeboys have decided to be. So it's a beautiful model.
Professor Ryder, to conclude this episode with one last question. From a teaching and policy perspective, what lessons can business schools and policymakers draw from the hybrid model?
That's a very, very interesting question. And I think we are at this moment where the role of higher education and business school is under a lot of pressure. And I can speak for India, but I know in the US, there are a lot of voices. And, what is the value of a college degree? What is our role? You add now artificial intelligence into the picture, and is why do I need, a professor and spend 4 years and get a big loan? So what is our role? For many years, we have been criticized as just being creating these leaders that are going to go to the world and maximize profit. So I think we are at this moment where we have to prove our value and how we can be part of the solution by not only including this topic in our courses. Again, in my university, we're offering courses in social entrepreneurship in the mid 2005, 2006, and then since Yunus came, 2010, social business courses, because the students need to understand that they are examples of successful hybrid organizations. And if I can speak just for myself, but I'm working for a future in which this topic is not an isolated course or a minor or even a major, but we see the idea of hybrid organization and social business embedded into each of our single courses. Marketing, accounting, finance, all courses are going to be showing how this model is possible. So it's almost, I'm working to get myself out of business because there are no more social business courses to teach. I'm optimistic.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Maria Ballesteros-Sola, for sharing such thoughtful insights on how hybrid organizations and B Corp are redefining success by blending purpose with profit. Your work highlights the powerful potential of business as a force for good. Thank you for sharing this profound insight with our audience today. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much for the invitation.